Somewhere between the trees and pine, there are places that time forgot. A perfect day for this one user. A solo hike through the mountains. Clear skies, fresh air, and not a living soul for miles. At least, that's what they thought. For you see, the forest holds many secrets. Not those of pine or birch, but of things much older and darker. On the trip in question, I decided to hike the old Molalla Indian Trail that follows the ridgetops from Saddle Blanket Mountain to Oak Ridge, one of the Native Americans' favorite summer camps and trading centers. It was a beautiful August day. 2 days into the hike, I expected to be gone about 2 weeks, when literally, out of the blue, the most terrifying thing that ever happened to me occurred. It would change my perspective of reality forever. I was walking along the trail, enjoying the strong breeze and bright sunshine, when, in the middle of a step, everything around me started to turn gray and blurry. The only way I can describe it was as if I had suddenly started looking through someone else's prescription sunglasses. I finished the step and started another, but with each and every inch I moved forward, the darkness increased, and the gray blurring turned into a jumble of shapes that made no sense. I seemed to pass through a barrier, and everything started to come back into focus. But when my foot hit the ground on that second step, everything around me had changed. Day had turned into night. There was no wind. All the pine trees had been replaced with thick, jungle-like growth. The cool, thin mountain air was now humid and thick. There were no stars in the sky, but a diffused light allowed me to see everything clearly, though I couldn't tell where the light was coming from. The entire incident felt like it happened in slow motion. Even though I was only there for a second or two, I had time to observe my surroundings. The silence was broken by a continuous, high-pitched, keening sound, and I was nearly overwhelmed with a sense of fear and danger. My momentum carried me forward 2 more steps before I froze in my tracks. That's when I heard it. Something whispered, "Gotcha," over my right shoulder. I couldn't tell if I had heard it with my ears or if it was in my head. The word didn't feel directed at me. It was more like something whispered it to itself. I was so terrified, I actually felt my heart stop for a moment. But that whispered word is what saved me. I gasped and breathed in a huge gulp of thick air, instinctively recoiled backwards, retracing the same steps I had just taken, and as I threw myself back, I looked over my right shoulder. There it was. A dark-colored, hairy right hand and arm were reaching for my throat. The hand had pale, ivory, spade-shaped fingernails. They were clean, almost manicured in appearance. The thumb was placed lower on the hand, a lot closer to the wrist than a human's would be. Both the hand and arm were thin but powerful looking, covered with thick, coarse black hair. I got a good look at it because the thumbnail grazed my neck. It didn't break the skin. As I moved backwards, the hand clutched at where my throat had been a split second before, and seemed to fade into the distance as I returned through the portal. I took 2 more steps back, and everything reversed itself. The world around me grew lighter. The fir and pine trees gradually came back into view. By the 3rd step, I was back on Saddle Blanket Mountain. Still moving backwards in terror, I noticed that where I had just come from was a shimmering, oval patch of air about the size of a large door. The woods behind it looked like they were underwater. By the fifth step backwards, the shimmering area evaporated, and everything returned to normal. By then, my lungs felt like they were about to burst from the huge gasp of air I had taken in. My body felt like it was on fire from the adrenaline surge. I spun around and ran back down the trail as fast as my legs would carry me. I didn't stop until I reached my truck. It had taken me nearly 2 days to get to that place, but only about 3 hours to get back. On the drive home, I was horrified at the thought of what might have happened if I were to drive into something like that. It had been a trap, pure and simple. Whatever tried to kill me had somehow kept the portal hidden from view on the way in. I didn't actually see it until I was back out again. I had terrible nightmares for years and still haven't come to grips with what happened. My fingers are trembling, and the hair is standing up on the back of my neck as I write this. Severely shaken, I started reading everything I could find about people who had mysteriously disappeared throughout history, and discovered several instances where people vanished in plain sight of others. The quantum physics people have a theory about parallel universes, and they might just be right. Report 9202 from Sutter County, California, was submitted to the BFRO. The person who submitted the report drew a picture of a creature he saw in the tree. A right hand in the picture is exactly the same as the one I saw, including the thumb placement, and the forearm matches what I remember from the creature that attacked me.